Hello everyone. This is not a story for the faint of heart. Today, we will be stepping into the darkness of the most gruesome cases, where evil not only exists, but also leaves bloody and haunting traces. This is Real Gruesome Murder Cases, a series of true stories about murders that made the whole world shudder. If you are ready to face the cold truth and the gruesome corners of humanity, come with me to delve deeper into each case. A perfect Sunday evening, except for the screaming and blood. A few years ago, I crossed Fairmont Street to avoid the sun. Had I been a hardier soul and stayed on the east side of the street, I might not have met the woman of my dreams. But I did cross the street, and I met Vivian. In the fullness of time, we fell in love. We have been together 5 years, and each day seems better than the last. Even today seemed perfect, except for the screaming and the blood. "You take the legs and I'll get the shoulders," Vivian said, as she reached down to grab the upper part of the bound and gagged man. I did as instructed, and we tossed the writhing body in the bed of the pickup truck. It wasn't easy because he was a fat son of a bitch. Jason Mobley, the man currently enjoying the view from the back of the truck, is as sorry a human being as we had ever come across. Without delving into the sordid details of his sins, suffice it to say that he has put more than one person in the ground and collected the insurance payout. Vivian's mom was one of the victims. I stopped the truck and slid out. Vivian and I took out the jack, a hammer, and a rope. Jason's eyes widened at the sight of the rope, and he wriggled in terror, thinking we were going to hang him. No, Jason. What we were going to do will be much worse. The first kiss did it for me. I had kissed plenty of women before, but none had the cool fire of Vivian's lips. A subtle, searching hunger, a slight moan, a soft sigh. I was lost in Vivian from that point on. Moving Jason was much easier now because we could roll him. He kicked at Vivian, but she punched him in the mouth and the kicking ceased. You had to admire a woman who could solve a problem with a punch. I set the loop of the rope under the truck and placed the jack inside the loop. Vivian loosened the nuts on the flat tire. Now I could jack up the truck. The flat tire was tossed into the back of the truck, and the spare tire was left leaning against the bare wheel. The scenario was ready. Okay, Deeds, let's get this overstuffed bastard under the wheel. That's me, Deeds, short for Dee Dee. A name made for trailer park trash like me. Let's take the rag out of his mouth. Maybe he has some final words before we do him in. I may have come from a home that had wheels, but common courtesy should be observed. Vivian grimaced at the suggestion, but complied. "I'll kill you. I'll fucking kill both you whores. Let me go." Vivian kicked him in the ribs. Apparently, Jason Mobley never heard of making one's last words memorable. I squatted down beside Jason. "You're gonna have an accident while changing a flat tire. The jack is gonna slip and you'll be pinned under the truck. The weight will crush you, but you won't die right away." Jason tried to wriggle away, so Vivian kicked him in the crotch. Another effective maneuver by the love of my life. "It'll be slow and painful, Jason. I'm a nurse, so I know how these things go. Your chest will be crushed from the initial blow, and then from the pressure. You'll start spitting blood, but it won't do you any good because you'll drown in it. The blood, I mean. You gotta let me go. I have money, lots of money. I'll give it all to you girls." "We don't want your money," Vivian spat out. What do you want? I'll do anything." Vivian stared at Jason. "I just want to see you suffer. then die, like my mom. He started screaming as we pulled the rope taut. The screams could probably be heard a mile away in this still air, but no one was around to hear them. Vivian and I jerked the rope, and the jack slipped, crashing down on Jason. The screaming stopped, replaced by a grunt, and followed by the gurgle of blood in his throat. "Well, he finally shut up," Vivian said. She chewed on a piece of beef jerky, but spat the juice out. I never understood that, but she sure looked cute while spitting. That's true love when you think these sorts of things. "That's because he can't scream anymore. His lungs are full of blood, and he's choking to death. Slowly, I hope. Oh yeah, he's having a terrible time of it," I said, glancing at the man being crushed to death. He looked pitiful and small, despite his bulk. "Say, do you remember when we first met?" I turned to Vivian. She had just spat out a wad of beef jerky and put it in a bag. It wouldn't do to leave DNA evidence behind. Smart woman. "Of course. You were just standing in the middle of the sidewalk staring at me. It was a little creepy, but also nice. Like someone found me attractive. Well, you were that, are that, will always be that, I think." Vivian cuddled up next to me, and we watched Jason slowly slip away. It was terribly romantic, watching someone die while embracing your lover. The police department of Vanderpool, Texas doesn't exist, so the county sheriff and his lone deputy took charge. After an exhaustive investigation that lasted almost 10 minutes, they concluded Jason Mobley suffered a fatal accident. "He was a dumb shit anyway," the sheriff said. "If brains was leather, he wouldn't have enough to saddle a pissant." And with that trenchant observation, he and the rest of the world walked away from Jason Mobley. 2 nights later, we were in bed, tired and at peace after some serious canoodling. The scent of jasmine wafted in with the cool breeze, the curtains fluttering in the indecisive light of a waning crescent moon. People say that you don't feel better after avenging a death with a death. That's bullshit, Deeds. I feel great about it. Vivian lit a cigarette and passed it to me. I took a long drag and handed it back, letting my hand linger on hers. I don't know that I feel great about it, but I sure don't feel bad about it. I wonder if you feel different about me now. I turned to Vivian and stroked her cheek. Surprisingly, it had tears. Vivian wasn't one of those girls that cried much. The night had gone seriously quiet. Even the curtains stopped making any noise. It was as if they wanted to listen in. I think we should move in together. Vivian smiled and wiped away her tears before kissing me. Like the first kiss between us, it swallowed me whole without consuming me. If we do that, all the people around here will call us lesbians. Viv, we are. She thought about it for a moment before tamping out the cigarette. Okay, your trailer house or mine? You would think this was the end of the story, all wrapped up with a happy ending, right? My friends, this is just the beginning. Another perfect evening was slowly ambling its way towards us. Vivian, very fetching in her cutoffs and tank top, sat on a rock and chewed on beef jerky. I was a little jealous that she could look so good after 10 years of living together. I was never what you'd call pretty, and the years spent toiling as a nurse were taking a toll on me. Not to put too fine a point on it, I was looking a little like 10 miles of bad road. I was also feeling my age, which was uncomfortably close to 40. I thought of my future a lot these days. More specifically, I pondered my life as an old lady. Vivian would tell you that I do this too often, and perhaps she's right. Her sunny disposition gives me sunburn because it never lets up. The problem is that she's too pretty. I see others looking at her, and I know what those looks mean. A cold dread squeezes me. A terrible thought gets in my head and stays there. As sure as sugar is sweet, Vivian will leave me one day. Which is why I have to kill her. That's what I tell myself anyway. It isn't easy corralling a rattlesnake. First, you have to find them. Then you have to coax them into a bag without getting bitten. Then you have to feed them and keep them hidden so your victim is caught unawares. I am going to considerable lengths to kill Vivian and make it look like an accident. I hope she appreciates it. Sunday afternoons are hot in August around here, but it starts to cool off around 7 o'clock. When the evening starts to make an appearance, the magic of the area gets serious. This particular Sunday evening was splendid. The wind whispered through the prairie grass and tickled the leaves of the gnarled oaks. Lizards skittered here and there, looking for food or shelter or, perhaps, just a few final rays of sunshine. I tossed my well-kept rattler in the bed of our pickup truck and induced Vivian to come out for a walk. We had our special place about 3 miles down the road. We would often drive there and spend hours walking over the hills and finding a good place to have a late picnic. The picnic usually ended up with us drinking too much cheap wine and getting naked. I hope we didn't traumatize the lizards. And now we come to it. The dastardly deed. Things didn't turn out as planned. I spied on you. Vivian's confession wounded me. How can a person reasonably expect to commit murder when the intended victim is better at it? She had me wrapped up in cellophane, Glad Wrap, BTW, before I knew what was happening. It was a little embarrassing to be put in such a position, but even worse was the betrayal. I should have known, though. She stopped kissing me like she used to kiss me. I never thought it would come to this, Viv. But you kept on getting prettier, and I just got older. Vivian took the bag with the snake from the back of the truck and laid it down by my feet. She knelt next to me and stroked my hair. I could see the tears streaming down her face, and her chest spasmed as she tried not to sob. I still love you, you idiot, but I can't let you kill me. I could argue the point, but I didn't. No use. She held the upper ground, and she had the snake. I eyed the bag distastefully. Vivian saw me and understood. Probably not a very pleasant way to go, but it's what you had planned for me. True enough, my journey in life is over. I know that because I know Vivian. She'll carry through with the deed, and I'll be just another rattlesnake victim in South Central Texas. The only consolation I have is that she's too smart to get caught. I deserve to die, but she doesn't. It'll probably hurt, Deeds. It has to be the ankle so it looks like an accident, and it'll take a while to stop your heart. I'm sorry, sweetie. It hurt like hell. This is my last bit of writing because my hands are starting to tremble. Like Jason Mobley, I don't have any high-minded final words. I just wish the bitch hadn't outfoxed me. Vivian's narrative. Deeds forgave me for what I had to do. I know this because we kissed one last time, right before the snake bite. It was the same as the first time she kissed me. I can't describe things as well as her, but when she kisses me like she means it, the feeling of her love lingers long after the lips separate. I'm gonna miss her like hell. Baby Revenge, Shalini. Life in New York seems to be carrying on as usual. Sirens are wailing in the air. The smell of hot dogs and coffee mingled in the air. The noise of the traffic, honks blaring, traffic and pedestrian lights beeping filled the air, along with jazz music coming from shops. Somewhere, I could hear the subway train rumbling into the station, but in every New Yorker's mouth is the latest gossip news: the murder of the infamous supermodel, Laura Myers, who was pushed from her balcony of her penthouse and plunged to death by her ex-boyfriend, Lyle Summers. And few hours ago, Lyle Summers confessed for the murder of Laura Myers. I walk down the sidewalk, bumping onto people, hurrying back to my apartment. On the way, I stop over at the newsstand. On the front page of every magazines and newspapers was the picture of Laura Myers, looking glamorous, in a photo shoot on one side, with the picture of Lyle Summers, looking gaunt and disheveled, leaving the Manhattan police precinct. I pick up a newspaper and read the front headlines. The supermodel fell on her death. Boyfriend responsible for the murder. The headlines sounds like something out of a crime show. I paid a disgruntled-looking man who owns the newsstand and then shovel the newspaper into my bag before heading towards the subway station. My phone starts ringing, and I groaned as I look at the number on the screen. It was my friend, Jenna, who was calling. "Hey, Jen, I answered, but Jenna broke in. "Shalini, have you heard the news?" Jenna shrieked. "Laura is murdered." "Yeah, it's the talk of the day," I mumbled as I climbed down the stairs to the subway station. "Hey, Jen, I am going to be on subway. I'll call you back." And I cut off the connection before Jenna could reply. I got into the train and then sit next to two women who seemed to be carrying on some excited conversation. Little did I realize, as I sit next to them, that they were, of course, talking about Laura Myers' murder. I, anyway, sit next to them and pretend to be absorbed into my phone. "Oh my God, I can't believe Laura is dead," one of the women exclaimed, as if she was sad that she lost her sister or something. "Rather murdered by her boyfriend Lyle," the other woman snorted. "God, Laura and Lyle are not made for each other. I mean, I don't even know why a glamorous supermodel like Laura would date a nobody like Lyle. After all I heard, he is just a bartender working in some bar in Brooklyn. Did you hear the latest grapevine? Apparently, Laura was having an affair with Joshua Schoenberg." "The Joshua Schoenberg? Like the Senator Schoenberg's nephew? The one who looks so handsome, like a movie star? Like Ian Somerhalder?" "Yeah, that one. That's Lyle was jealous and upset, and that's why he ended up killing Laura." The woman shakes her head like she is disgusted. "About a month ago, at a fashion show, Laura and Lyle got into a heated argument that the security had called in to escort Lyle out. Well, finally, Laura decided to move with someone of her league," the woman replied. "Joshua and Laura would make perfect couple, rather than her and that bartender." I didn't realize that I was gripping my phone so hard that my knuckles were turning white. I had to prevent myself from lashing out at them, but they don't know who I am. To them, I am just a working woman on my way home, after a busy day at work. Thankfully, I got off from the train and walked quickly towards my apartment, leaving behind the noise and into a somewhat calm and quiet neighborhood. I fumble with my apartment keys and quickly enter into my room, closing the door behind me. I dump my bag on the sofa and then sit heavily on the sofa and start sobbing. I then wipe my eyes with my hands and then get up, breathing deeply. Slowly, I dialed a number. After about a few rings, she picked it up. "Mama!" I started sobbing into the phone. Cha. A few days before, I look at the pregnancy test and see the 2 lines on the stick. I am pregnant with Joshua Schoenberg's child. Should I feel joyous? I should, but lately I didn't. Joshua was not like the man I used to love. He told me that it was embarrassing to introduce me to his family because I am not white. I am a Sri Lankan. Then why did you date me? I have yelled at him. To my anger, Joshua simply shrugged. Because I enjoyed dating you, he replied with a smirk on his face. And gradually, I realized that he was having an affair, not just with an ordinary woman but with a glamorous supermodel named Laura Myers. He had taken her to places where he would never take me, and had even introduced Laura to his sister, Margot. Tears streamed down on my cheeks as I realize that he doesn't love me the way he does with Laura Myers. Racism is involved in this. I thought Joshua didn't have any racism in him, considering he was half Jewish through his father, whose family emigrated from Europe. But Joshua was too embarrassed to introduce me even to his family, because I was not white. Nonetheless, I decided to call Joshua and tell him the news. With shaking hands, I dial his number. After about 5 minutes, he answered the phone. "What now, Shalini?" he answered gruffly. "I am busy, Joshua," I stammered, and for a moment, my voice was frozen, as if I am unable to speak anything. "Shalini, I don't have time. I thought I gave you money." His tone was impatient. "I am pregnant," I blurted out loudly. There was annoyance on the other end, and for a moment, I thought Joshua had ended the connection. But I heard his raspy outtake of breath. "Pregnant? What? I thought I made it clear," he began. "Please, Joshua, please don't tell me to abort the baby," I pleaded. "The baby can bring us back to..." "Shalini, I don't want a family with you. I have already chosen someone to spend life with," he said gruffly. "Do what you want with the baby. I don't care." And the line went dead. I stared at the phone. "Do what you want with the baby. I don't care." Those words felt like sharp, icy words in my heart. Joshua Schoenberg is heartless and a complete different person from the one I used to love. And then I made a decision. I pick up my bag and set off to find Laura Myers. I am going to ask her to leave Joshua Schoenberg alone, because I will do anything to keep my baby and make Joshua responsible for the baby. After all, he is the father. Murder at Kasserine Pass. Murder at Kasserine Pass. The Bo-Chebka Road, deep inside the Kasserine Pass, narrowed to little more than a camel track along a dry riverbed and steep cliffs. Rooted in the pale sand, a grove of palm trees jutted out from the ground as if thrown down and forgotten long ago. The remnants of the U.S. 26th Regimental Combat Team used the shade of the palm trees to dig their foxholes. Covered in sand and blisters, men hacked until the exposed roots of the palm trees aggravated their progress. Collapsing, exhausted, they lay where they fell, swollen tongues aching for water. Lieutenant Myers walked among his men, giving words of encouragement, and promised water would arrive when teams returned from Ain Bu-Drias up the road. As an officer, he thanked and encouraged his men for their hard fight against the Germans. He hoped fresh troops, supplies, and ammunition would arrive by the next morning. But he couldn't make promises. Around 2 in the morning, a mule train arrived with water, and Lieutenant Myers saw every man drank his fill. Some even vomited after they drank too greedily. Others, familiar with working in the heat, sipped slowly and intentionally. Lieutenant Myers lay down in a foxhole as exhausted as the rest and drifted off to sleep. At 04:30, Sergeant Thicket woke the lieutenant for him to walk rounds once again. Walking from foxhole to foxhole, he leaned over and checked his men. In the dim light, low in the eastern sky, his outline became visible among the tall palm trees. Approximately 05 o'clock, a single shot rang out far to the left of his position. Lieutenant Myers clutched his chest and dropped to the ground. Confused men, roused by the shot, began returning fire into the vast, empty valley in front of them, thinking they were under attack. Less than a minute later, the firing stopped, and the medics pronounced Lieutenant Myers dead. Captain Williams' Task Force. Welvert, February 21st, 1943. Criminal Investigations Division, North Africa. I surveyed the ground where Lieutenant Myers lay after he'd been shot. It's possible a sniper took advantage of the early morning light, but further examination of the body suggests the shot came from much closer. The bullet struck the lieutenant on the upper left side of his chest. Damage to the heart and lungs, terminal. Some witnesses report hearing one shot, while others heard 2 or 3. The additional shots could have been an echo or edgy trigger fingers, as reported to me. Everyone began furring into the valley below. Furring stopped in less than a minute. No further casualties. Witnesses report the shot sounded nearest the last foxhole in the line, manned by Staff Sergeant Culver Anderson, Private First Class Andrew Taylor, and Private Jacob Clark. Interviews to follow. Suspect Staff Sergeant Culver Anderson. Staff Sergeant Anderson. Witness say they heard a gunshot this morning from your foxhole around 500, said Captain Williams. Did you fire that shot? Captain Williams said, challenging him. No, sir. I heard a shot and thought the Germans were attacking, so I turned and looked around for them. I didn't see anyone, so I jumped out of my foxhole and ran along the line and told everyone to stop firing. Sergeant Anderson leaned forward, waving his hands in innocence. We are already low on ammunition, and we'd need it later if the Germans did attack, he said. Were you aware that the shot fired killed an officer? Asked Captain Williams. No, sir. Not until the firing died down. Rumor spread it might be an officer. I found out later, just like everyone else, Sergeant Anderson said. Were you alone in your foxhole, Sergeant? No, sir. There were 2 men with me, Private Taylor and Private Clark. They were sleeping, sir. I had the last watch, said Sergeant Anderson. Are you sure neither of them were awake and slipped away? Then maybe they fired the shot? Asked the captain. I'm sure of it, sir. I thought the shot came from behind me, and when I looked, I couldn't see anyone. It's possible a sniper hid on the hillside next to us. The sound of the shot may have been further beyond that, but these canyons are pretty steep. The explanation sounded plausible, but Captain Williams still didn't believe it came from the enemy. Captain Williams pivoted one last time and pointed a finger at Sergeant Anderson. Sergeant Anderson, don't play games with me. Our witness said it came from your foxhole. It had to be you, Private Taylor or Private Clark. Which one of you did it? Sir, I don't know who fired the shot or where it came from. All I know is, while I stood my post, I heard a shot. Sergeant Anderson said, more agitated than before. Captain Williams knew men like Sergeant Anderson. These were the men who would do all they could to protect a green recruit. He knew they'd cover for the new guys who were gun-shy or overeager to shoot. The possibility of an inexperienced soldier with an itchy trigger finger shooting the lieutenant thinking he saw the enemy. It was possible. He knew he'd never get a confession out of this man. Men like this were a rare breed in the army. Sergeant Anderson, we've been at Chebka Pass all of 18 hours. Everyone's tired after yesterday's fallback. We lost a lot of good men, and stragglers are still coming in across the line. These things happen. People get tired or confused, and no one really knows who they're fighting with every day. Is it possible you, or a man with you, mistook the lieutenant as an enemy soldier this morning? No, sir. I'd just met these men last night. I'd have known if anything were wrong, and nothing looked out of sorts. If there were anything, I'd have told you, said Sergeant Anderson. That will be all, Sergeant. You're dismissed, and I'll be in touch if I need you. Captain Shugart is taking over your company. Thank you, sir. Suspect. Private. First Class. Andrew Taylor. Private First Class Taylor. I am Captain Williams with the CID. Do you know what the CID is? Said the captain. Yes, sir. The CID is the Criminal Investigations Division of the United States Army. Sir, Very good, soldier. You're young to be a PFC. You've done well in the Army. I expect you'll be a corporal before long. Yes, sir. I served in junior ROTC in high school. They gave me a bump in rank when I enlisted, said Private Taylor. Wow, junior ROTC. You have the makings of an officer. Do you think you will try to be an officer someday? Asked the captain. Well, geez, sir, I don't know. I've never thought about it much until the war started. I thought I'd have to go to college first, said Private Taylor. No, of course not, son. Men of all ranks get promoted to second lieutenant. They're called field promotions. Have you ever heard of those? Well, yes, sir. I've heard of them, but I thought you needed to do something brave. I didn't think I've done anything brave yet. Well, Corporal, it takes a special soldier, someone with real leadership, to get promoted in the ranks, especially to the rank of officer. Captain Williams called him a higher rank to gauge Private Taylor's reaction. I'm only a private first class, sir. I have to wait a few more months to be a corporal. See, there you go. Honesty. Honesty is an outstanding trait to have as a soldier. I think we should make honesty a prime factor in the field commissioning program. Don't you? Said the captain. Well, I think so, sir. I think it would be important, said Private Taylor. That's good, soldier. I'm really glad you said that. And that brings me around to a question I have for you. Did you hear the gunshot this morning? Well, yes, sir. I heard it. Do you know where it came from? I'm not sure I know where it came from. It sounded nearby, but I couldn't be sure. I took the first watch and fell asleep around 2 a.m. You were sleeping. You had a rough day yesterday, and we lost a lot of good men. We lost another man this morning. What do you know about that? Yes, sir. It was a hard day yesterday. Private Taylor rubbed at his eyes as if trying to block out the images. I heard someone was shot, but I don't know much about it. Was it a sniper, sir? That's the rumor. Is that why I'm here this morning? Asked Private Taylor. Yes, Corporal. I mean Private Taylor. We lost a good man this morning. Lieutenant Myers died around 0500. The rumor is it came from a location near where you were sleeping. It's an unfortunate way to have a vacancy, but Lieutenant Myers died because of that shooting. Now we have a company without a lieutenant. We have a poor dead man who will never know justice. The truth will have to come out someday. If we could solve this mystery right away, things may just fall into place for the right person. Maybe even a new second lieutenant could rise through the ranks. What do you think about that? Private Taylor wiggled in his seat. He looked excited or uncomfortable. It was hard for the captain to tell. Honestly, sir, I woke up when the shooting started. I don't know where the shot came from, he said. Thank you, Private. I'll let you go, and if I need anything more, can I count on you to be honest with me? Yes, sir. Private Jacob Clark. Private Clark. I am Captain Williams, the the lead investigator for the Criminal Investigative Division. Witnesses say you were near the location of the shot fired this morning that killed Lieutenant Myers. Is that correct? Yes, sir. I heard the shot. It was only one shot, said Private Clark. Do you know who fired the shot? Asked Captain Williams. Sir? Said Private Clark. The shot. Did you see who fired the shot? Asked the captain. I remember nothing. It all happened so fast, said the private. If you knew who it is, are you aware it is a crime to withhold information about the person involved? Yes, sir. Are you saying you know who fired the shot? Asked the captain. Sir, no, sir. It all happened so fast. Did you know that covering for someone is also a crime? Maybe you know who fired the shot, and you just don't want to say. It's called being an accomplice to murder, said the captain. The kid looked dumbstruck. I didn't know that, sir. Honestly, it all happened so fast. Did you also know there is a second crime being committed by the killer if they are threatening a subordinate to covering up a murder? It's called retribution. If someone you know is telling you they would hurt you or kill you for telling the truth about this killing, then creating fear of retribution is a crime. I didn't know that, sir. Yes, Private Clark. It is a crime, and a very serious one. We do not look kindly upon those who threaten retribution to subordinates. If you know anything, you are free to tell me. I will make sure you are safe from the one threatening you, and I'll have them removed immediately. Is there anything you'd like to tell me, soldier? I'm sorry, sir. I don't know what you mean. I was in my foxhole this morning when I heard this rifle shot, and I jumped. I don't remember anything after that. Then everyone started shooting, said Private Clark. The young man looked sullen and weak. He slouched in the chair, staring into the distance, 100 miles away. Pacing back and forth across the tent, Captain Williams looked into the private eyes. He'd seen this before, after a fight. Unfortunately, the captain felt each man knew something he did or didn't want to say. Confessions didn't come easy. Captain Williams thought about a case 6 weeks ago where a junior enlisted and a captain fought behind a bar in Morocco. The enlisted man should have been court-martialed and the officer reprimanded. Turns out the two men knew each other from high school, and they fought over a girl they both knew. Neither confessed to starting the fight, and no witnesses came forward. The answer stared him in the face, but the guys covered for each other. Captain Williams believed the same thing might happen here. He released the private and stood at the tent flap, trying to piece together everything he knew. The men on the line were all lying to him. That much he knew. Kasserine Pass, February 19th, 1943, as Rommel's 10th Panzer Division plowed through the defenses covering the Kasserine Pass. The 26th Armored Brigade and the 26th Combat Team dug in along the canyons, running west towards Thala, Tunisia. The Americans put up stiff resistance, then withdrew. Hours of gunfire and hundreds of dead and dying littered the sand in their brutal retreat. Around 3,300 Americans were killed or wounded, and over 3,000 were taken prisoner. On the southern flank, Lieutenant Myers and the men of the 26th Combat Team held on as long as they could. "Lieutenant Myers, we need to get those men out of those holes and behind the tanks," yelled Sergeant Anderson. "Sergeant Anderson, you will leave those men where they are. They are the only thing between Rommel and Algeria. Do you understand?" "But sir, they are getting massacred out there. I just saw 3 men get run over in those shallow holes. They have to pull back." "Sergeant Anderson, I will not tell you again. See to your men, that is an order." As Sergeant Anderson left the lieutenant, his anger fumed. He ran towards his line and did what he could to check on his men. Those men left, held out as long as they could, as the Germans moved closer and closer. He knew they couldn't hold the line. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Myers carried armfuls of ammunition to his men until he ran out. His radio man died early in the fight, and the 2 men who followed already wounded. Grabbing the radio, he jumped into a crater and found a soldier lying on the ground. 2 men lay beside him, already dead, as this one stared into the sky. "Soldier, return fire," said Lieutenant Myers. "I can't, sir." The words came out in a hopeless tone. "I'm out of ammunition. We all are. That's how they died. They just ran out. Then they got shot." The exhaustion was clear. The battle raged on, and everyone fought on as best they could. "Lieutenant, what do we do?" he said pleadingly. "Private, what is your name?" he asked. "Private Clark, sir." "Private Clark, you are now my radio man. Get this thing working and listen for orders. Do you understand, Private?" he said. "Yes, sir." He struggled to talk from lack of water. He moved slowly, but he made it to the young lieutenant's side and grabbed the radio. No sooner than he'd picked up the handle, and he heard the words. "I say again, pull back, pull back. Lieutenant, they ordered us to pull back." The words came out in a half-shout. Without hesitation, Lieutenant Myers gave the signal for everyone to pull back. The Germans held nothing back that day. They took Kasserine Pass, and they intended to keep it. By nightfall, every man, not killed or wounded, pulled back to Buchebka Pass. The Germans came from the east, and Sergeant Anderson guided his men out of the fight. Lieutenant Myers directed them south and along the cliff walls. By midnight, they were digging in and waiting for reinforcements. "Private, get over here and start digging. 2 men per foxhole, all along this line. The rest of you follow with me," said Sergeant Anderson. "Sarge, when do you think we'll get some water?" asked a soldier. "I'm working on it. Even if I have to take the lieutenant's canteen myself." All along the line, the remaining 110 men dug in and waited for anything that looked like help. Tank and truck noises echoed through the canyon. Everyone felt on edge. "Sarge, what do you think happened today?" asked Private Taylor. "We suffered a loss today, kid." His expression mild and disappointed. We suffered a big loss today. Sergeant Anderson kept watch as Private Taylor and Private Clark dug the foxhole. Private Clark fell silent and moved at half the speed of Private Taylor. Private Taylor nodded at the sergeant. They both looked at the young man, struggling to keep sand from falling back into the hole. A look of concern and understanding crossed the sergeant's face. Taking the shovel from Private Clark, he began digging and let the man rest. He finished the hole and told the others to get some sleep. Each man took a 2-hour watch, leaving Private Clark last. Midway through, around 1500, a shot rang out. "Private, what did you just do?" asked Sergeant Anderson. "He wouldn't let us leave. We were there all day. He had to die." The rest of the men opened fire. Then the shooting died down. "We can't go back. We can't." Tears left dusty tracks down his face. The poor boy cried. "What do we do, Sarge?" asked Private Taylor. "We keep our mouths shut. That's what we do. I'll send him back to the aid station when they get here. He's done." The author created the thoughts and characters. This is a story of fiction. The events related to World War II have some factual information, but most details are from the author's imagination. The murder of Presi Bavver. The Blauwevmans County Police Station was a horrible place for officers and criminals alike. The station had been built in 1932, and to most everyone's sadness, had been one of the only buildings to hold up during the Second World War. The station was built from old, withering bricks, and the man who was in charge of keeping the ivy along the sides of the building contained was too busy hitting on women to actually get the job done. The inside was even worse. The oak doors were creaky on their rusty hinges, and the musty concrete jail cells were cracking due to the recent heat surge the Netherlands were experiencing. The small cubicles for officers were tight, and the air conditioning rarely worked. To make things worse, the computer system was terrible. Sometimes, officers would sit for hours just to wait for a 12-page document to load. It didn't help that Blauwevmans was a city in the middle of the mountains, away from most metropolitan. Just getting into the next county took 2 hours. The only good thing that had happened to the police station in the past month was that the exterminator had came. The rats were gone, and they wouldn't be back. But from where Evian van Beek was sitting, she swore she saw a rat scurry past the chief of police's office as she and Lucas Hoysk waited to be called in for questioning. Evi tapped her feet on the wooden floors, anxiously looking around. The police station was crowded for a Sunday night. Some officers were packing up to leave for the night. Others cursed as their computers failed to upload their files. It looked like one of the cops, Sergeant Shea, was having a small party. Evi leaned over her seat, watching some of the officers chat and shove forkfuls of red velvet cake into their mouths. Maybe a birthday? Levi slouched back into her chair and sighed. Lucas bit his lip, staring curiously at the ceiling. Levi knew that look. What denk je wel net? Levi asked, pushing a dark hair out of her face. Lucas shot Levi an alarmed look. Levi, he hissed, talk ahead angles. Levi gave him a puzzled look. They were both studying English as a world language. They were almost fluent. But why practice for the upcoming test when they're in a police station about to get questioned as suspects of a murder? Levi looked around before repeating her question. What are you thinking about? Lucas rubbed his strawberry blonde hair. They can't understand us if we talk in English, he said, his Dutch accent well enunciated. Lucas tilted his head to the side, indicating the officers eating cake behind him. Lucas continued, a worried look on his face. I know the plan didn't exactly go according to plan. Levi shot Lucas a deadly glare. Lucas, we killed. Levi peered over her shoulder, making sure the officers weren't paying any attention to them. She lowered her voice. Presi. We killed Presi, the mayor's son. But they have no proof it is us. All they saw was the security tapes, Lucas stated, exasperated. We were running. So what? That could mean we were running away from the murderer. Levi bit her lip. We did it. We have to confess. If we don't, and they find out it was us, there will be much bigger. Is it consequences? Lucas shook his head. Consequences, you mean? But what if they don't find out it was us? We could lie and be done with this. And what if they do? Levi hissed loudly, tears sparkling in her eyes. She tugged at the neckline of her purple shirt. Either way, I do not want to end up in Gevangenis. Lucas frowned. I'm afraid neither lying nor telling the truth will get you out of jail. At least we have a shot if we lie, but that is not the right thing to do. We could get a worse sentence if they do find out it was us. Lucas, we killed someone, Levi cried. Small tears began to flow from her blue eyes and stream down her face. Lucas looked over at her helplessly, gritting his teeth. His knuckles were white as they gripped the seat of his chair. They're going to call us in any minute, Lucas said softly. So pick your poison. Evie dried her tears, sighing sadly. She looked up and pointed to the chief's door. Lucas, the chief. He kommt heran. Levi gasped. Lucas suddenly looked very worried, but he put on a fierce face. As the chief turned the brass doorknob from the inside, Lucas took a deep breath and whispered, Let's go, Levi. Barvan de Vries was a tall man with wispy black hair and piercing dark blue eyes. He wore his shiny gold badge proudly and was never without a gun under his sweater. In the work area, he wore his gun on his utility belt. Much to the chief's pleasure, the weapon seemed to intimidate the teenage suspects in front of him. The two, according to his files, were seemingly clean, but were the primary suspects for the murder of Presi Bavver. Evian van Beek, and Lucas Hoysk. Chief de Vries's lips curled. This would be fun. The chief put on a menacing face and looked from Lucas to Evi. The girl was fidgeting slightly, almost unsure of what to think. Lucas, however, seemed relatively calm. It was an odd combination of suspects, especially partners in crime. But then, many odd people had entered the Blauwevmans County Police Station. This pair would be no different from the rest. But, the chief thought, odd combinations often have, shall we say, different stories. Barvan tapped his door with his knuckles. His eyes trained on Evi. His first victim. The chief gestured to Evi, whose eyes widened. Evian van Beek? Evi bit her lip. It looked as if the girl was blinking back tears. Ja, she answered. De Vries nodded approvingly. De tide is here. Komen, Evian, the chief said, clapping his hands. Evi looked desperately at Lucas, and then at the chief. Alsjeblieft, een moment? She asked in a small voice. Lucas gave Evi an alarmed look as the chief processed what the suspect had just said. De Vries scowled, but gave in. Prima, the chief muttered, his eyebrows furrowing. Fine, Evi repeated in English, sighing. She turned to Lucas. I'm telling the truth, she said sternly. It's the right thing to do. Lucas looked angry for a moment, but then softened. His cheeks were red. Fine, he spat. But if we get out of here with no mark on our permanent record, you can thank me. So you are still... Evi stopped, eyes glancing toward Barvan. At least I will have done something for the good of the world. I am, as they say, avenging his death. If that is right context. Evi lowered her voice. We killed him. Jail time, nothing will take that fact away. Sergeant Patrick Shea stepped out from the open room. His party was being held. He had been leaning on the doorsill and listening to the pair's conversation since they had been seated. Sergeant Shea nodded to the chief. Meneer de Vries, Shea addressed the chief. Barvan raised an eyebrow. Ja? He asked. The sergeant gestured to the teens. Shea turned and gave Lucas and Evi a small smile. Then, in crisp English, he said, These are our killers, sir. Evian van Beek and Lucas Hoysk, convicted of the manslaughter of Presi Bavver. This is a robbery. This is a robbery, I said calmly, pushing my golden hair behind my shoulder. Bring me everything. Ma'am, Just do it, I told the bank teller firmly, giving him a look. It wasn't a glare exactly, more like one of those looks your mom gives you do something wrong. I wasn't threatening him. I didn't even carry a weapon with me. But he was going to do what I say. I stared into his gold green eyes with my baby blue ones, insisting he did what I asked. See, I didn't give orders. I never had to. People, especially men, just listened. This man, however, with his long black hair and mysterious green-gold eyes, was stronger than most. He hadn't set off the alarm. He was considering it, though, his eyes darting to it nervously, then back at me. He scanned my figure, not with desire, but as if he was searching for the weapon I didn't have. We stood like this for many minutes, no one else taking note of what was happening. I studied him closely, deciding he was quite handsome. His nose was straight, and he had these beautiful dimple marks in his chinges and cheeks. His long black hair brushed his back, and he was several inches taller than me. Not that I minded. It was actually better this way. "Bring me everything," I repeated in a whisper. I urged him on, pushing him quietly with my gaze and stance. I wasn't pushy, but I was confident. No one had resisted me before. Why should I expect it to stop now? Around us, the world continued, heels clacking against the floor and boots thudding, some heavy, some light. I heard buttons being pressed, and a tiny ding of approval as a loan went through. The man didn't move. He looked at me seriously, considering my request. "Bring me everything," I repeated in a whisper. His eyes widened slightly, but still he didn't move. I could tell I was close to getting what I wanted. He was almost broken. He dragged a hand through his hair. He knew he should alarm someone. He didn't know if I had a weapon or not, or maybe he did. He glanced around, looking for anyone who might be an accomplice. Several burly, suit-wearing men stood around talking, occasionally glancing at me. Now they had desire in their eyes. I was a respectable woman, with curves in all the right places. I turned my hip slightly, just enough to show myself off. The man thought I was giving a signal, especially when one of the other men took a step towards us. I smiled one last time. "Please?" I added sweetly. The man left to get what I wanted. Everything. Several people stopped him to ask what he was doing, but all he did was point at me and then continued. One of these people came over to me and asked what I was doing. I told her I wanted everything. She just nodded, blankly. Weakling. Soon, I had the whole bank wrapped around my little finger. The man came back, pushing a cart full of money. I peered inside and dug around, making sure they weren't tricking me. I glanced at the man and smiled at him seductively. He smiled back, winking. He was letting me know he wasn't under my control. I raised an eyebrow at him, ignoring the lusty stares the men were giving me. He raised an eyebrow back. I rolled my eyes. "Give me the cart," I said haughtily. "No," I gave him a look, one that said, "Don't defy me." The man smirked. You said you wanted everything. I smirked back. Then come. Allow me to rob you of your job, your soul, your dignity. Only if I may steal yours. That's when I hear it. The tiny, lilting whisper in my head, urging me to love him, to listen to him. I smiled at him, knowing his secrets. Come, I whispered. Come to me. The man smiled and took a step closer, leaving the cart. I didn't care about the cart anymore. All I wanted was him. I swam in his beautiful green gold eyes. I could feel him fall deeper into mine. He tugged at the cart, pulling it with him as he advanced on me. My heart beat eagerly, and I leaned forward. The part of my brain still sane was terrified, knowing what this man could do to me. It excited me. The man was so enticing, with full, soft lips and thick hair. I wanted to run my hands through. He scanned my figure again, undressing me with his eyes, no longer looking for weapons. I gave him a sly look, then turned around, leading him outside. I bent over, opening the trunk, and I felt his eyes on me the entire time. Gentlemanlike, he helped me unload the cart, hiding the money in the fake walls. I stuffed several bills in my bra in case he tried to pull something. I got the feeling he would. His voice whispered in my head, just as mine whispered in his. I excited him, and he tried to pull me against his chest, but I only smirked and pulled away, climbing into the driver's seat. I allowed him to sit shotgun. I was already several miles down the highway before anyone at the bank realized what had happened. It was too late now. I already had the money. I glanced at the man. We had the money. The man noticed me looking at him. His hand slid over the seat, resting on my thigh. I glanced at him slyly. What? You looking to have some fun? Of course. But ma'am, you never allowed me to finish my sentence earlier. I frowned. I had no idea what he was talking about. The man sighed. I was going to say, I know your secret. I raised an eyebrow, pushing my hair back. Oh? You're a siren, I smirked. Not quite. I am what you are. The man's eyes widened nervously, like a cornered animal. No? Oh yes. The man drew his hand back, knowing he now had no power. I had robbed him blind. He thought he had control, that he had power, that he had strength. He didn't. All he had was an illusion. I laughed, and without pulling over, slid over into his lap. Now give me everything. The man, who had been excited minutes before, only looked terrified. We were cruising down the interstate with no one at the wheel. I only grinned. This was going to be fun. The Plunderers bank robbery and waltzing have a lot in common. Both have defined rhythms, and they're better with a partner. After waiting my turn, like an everyday customer. I handed my note and a paper sack to the blonde girl behind the counter while pulling back my sport coat to show her the butt of my pistol. The note read, "This is a robbery. Remain calm so no one gets hurt. Fill the sack from your drawer. Have a nice day." When she scanned my note, her eyes bulged and flicked from side to side. Her frightened blue peepers filled with disbelief as she stared at me to see if this was a prank. I smiled like a friend. "Please fill it up." With trembling fingers, she stuffed bills into the sack as if she'd win a prize for the fullest bag. The gorilla behind me noticed something wrong. Maybe the sweat-gouging channels through the quivering blonde's rouge tipped him off. He grunted and grabbed me in a bear hug, pinning my arms. My Marine training kicked in and I stomped the arch of his foot with the sharp leather heel of my polished Oxfords. He winced and loosened his grip. This gave me enough slack to reach behind and twist his balls. He yipped like an injured puppy and let go, slowly sinking to the floor. The bank patrons turned to stare at the commotion, unsure what was happening. I reached through the teller's wicket and yanked the half-filled sack of money from the blonde's jittery hands. As my assailant rolled on the floor, grabbing his crotch, one of the suits in the back reached for a phone. Time to go. I strolled out of the bank before anyone attempted to jump me. Outside the bank, I wanted to run, but nothing attracts attention more than a man running from a bank with a bag in his hand. The alarm clanged, and I turned towards the bank like the other pedestrians, plastering a puzzled look on my face. A siren wailed in the distance. Sweat beaded my forehead, and I lengthened my strides short of a power walk. When I reached the corner, white exhaust flowed from the red Edsel coupe, and its big V8 growled, ready to whisk me to safety. I jumped in the passenger seat, and Marge drove away at 30 miles per hour. 2 police cruisers screamed past us in the other lane. Now, we'd have to ditch this flashy car in case anyone noticed it fleeing the scene. Marge and I have been robbing banks since I got out of the Marines in '53. My posting to Korea separated us for 3 agonizing years, and when I got back to the States, we promised each other we'd never be apart again. Although we talked about it, we never got married. We both felt that a piece of government parchment would not make us love each other any more than we did. When our cash ran low, we'd find a suitable bank in a small town, make an unauthorized withdrawal, and live comfortably on the proceeds for a few months. As long as we didn't take too much or go to the well too often, the local cops forgot us, and the FBI had enough problems with organized crime to worry about a small-town bank robbery. We never hit the same town twice. Our life between jobs was quiet and measured, spending the winter in Florida, soaking up the sun like other tourists. We danced every Saturday night and fished the local lakes. Marge loved the fall colors so we spent September in New England before turning south for the winter. I don't remember the name of the town in Minnesota when we ran low on cash. While Marge gassed up the car, I got us a table in the Moosehead Diner. Over the blue plate special of corned beef and hash, I decided I wanted to go fishing. Margie, I've been thinking. It would be a shame to be in northern Minnesota and not go walleye fishing. How about we rent a cabin after this job and go fishing for the weekend? Marge placed her napkin on the table and pursed her lips. Okay, Harry, but all the cabins are probably rented. I reached for her hand. This is the end of the season, and we'll find a cabin somewhere, just for the weekend. Then we'll head for Vermont. She squeezed my hand and ran her thumb over my knuckles. We'll need some bait. I hadn't thought that far ahead. We'll stop at a bait shop and pick up some minnows. Or, if you'd rather, you can watch me fish. She removed her cat's eyeglasses with the fake rhinestones and leaned over the table. Not on your life, Buster. You fish. I fish. And I'll catch bigger fish. Just you watch me. I finished my coffee, left a $10 bill on the table, and wiped the crumbs off my tie. I'm going to the little boy's room, and then to work. As I walked across the street to the Imperial Bank, Marge parked the car around the corner. We took the North Road out of town towards Canada and doubled back south on a series of gravel concession roads. Navigation was Marge's job. When we hit the interstate, we turned east towards New England. The cops must have figured it out, or got lucky. They'd had 10 years to learn out our pattern. When we turned onto the interstate, 2 police cruisers, nose to nose, blocked our path to freedom. Blue and red lights flashed, and cops leaned across the hoods, pointing shotguns at us. 2 more cruisers pulled out of a side road and blocked our retreat. Marge slowed as we approached the roadblock and parked on the shoulder. A cop with a bullhorn yelled, "Get out of the car and lay on the ground." Marge turned off the ignition and gripped the wheel with hands at 10 and 2 while staring out the windshield. "Goodbye, Harry." I wiped a tear from my eye. "Goodbye, Marge." I drew my pistol and shot her through the ear. Blood spattered the windshield and side window as she slumped on the driver's door. I put the pistol in my mouth and pulled the trigger. "Banana robbers!" They were laughing as they took the last of the money from the friendly banana bank. They knew that after this day, that they would be the richest bananas of the banana world. They had to make a quick escape, though. The alarms were ringing in their ears. The banana cops were on their way. They could just hear the cops as they ran. Be Banana and Go Banana made a great team. They were the best bananas at robbing. They knew that after they robbed, they would have to split the money and have to pretend that they were innocent. They were also great actors. They knew to be part of the banana stampede after they robbed, so they could pretend like they were there the whole time. The banana stampede took place every day at the banana park. It was the best place to hide after doing something wrong. Everyone at the banana stampede knew how it felt to do something wrong. They were all banana criminals at one point. They all got the wrath of the sacred rule breaking punishment. They all stopped committing crimes after that. Once they reached the banana stampede, they were very hangry, so they killed a fellow banana and ate him. They hid the remains of the fellow banana. They knew that if they got caught, then they would be in huge trouble. They heard the banana cops coming. The cops started asking around if they saw anyone who came from the direction of the friendly banana bank. One of the bananas started crying. She told everyone that Be Banana and Go Banana killed her husband. The cops took them to Banana Court. They finally started court after a long lecture about how you drive banana cars, which was way off topic. They had the whole banana stampede there that was not causing a stampede currently. They had a bunch of chairs in random groups. The judge was sitting down in a giant chair with bananas all over it. He also had a small desk with a banana volunteer to be the hammer. Welcome to the all-wonderful court, where we find out if you are guilty or not. Da Banana Judge told everyone, "Everyone take your seats and be quiet unless I tell you to speak. Today, we have two problems. The friendly banana bank has been robbed with not a single trace of money left. There was also a murder at the banana stampede that was caught by Mrs. Banana, witnessed. Mrs. Banana, will you tell us what you saw?" Of course, I was talking to him, and all of the sudden, I saw a knife through him. I looked behind him, and I saw Be Banana and Go Banana with the knife. Then they ate every single little piece of him. It was like a nightmare, Mrs. Banana declared. Be Banana and Go Banana, you two have earned 10 seconds in jail so far, Da Banana Judge said. Mr. Peel, you said you saw who stole the money from the friendly banana bank. Will you tell us what you saw? Yes, I was walking my banog, and I saw Be Banana and Go Banana walk into the bank. I stalled so I could see what they were doing. After a while, they came out with stacks and stacks of money. I ran as fast as I could to the nearest cop. I told them what I saw. That day, I also saw them steal all my banog bones. I was so mad. I wanted to tell the cops, but I thought that it wasn't as important as other things. Mr. Peel said, "Thank you, Be Banana and Go Banana. Will you tell us your side of the story to see if you get 15 seconds in the corner or not?" Da Banana Judge said, "Yes, da wonderful judge. We were at the banana restaurant, and then when we were done, we saw Mr. Peel steal the money. We saw him run to his house and then tell the cops lies. when we went down to the banana stampede and saw Mrs. Banana murder her own husband," Go Banana said. By this point, the room was filled with murmurs. Everyone was standing, and they were scared to know who was the actual imposter. The volunteer banana hit his loudly and hard on purposely. The room filled with silence. "Thank you. I cannot tell who is guilty or not, so you four get to go to jail for 20 seconds. Da Banana Judge said, "Be bananas. Go bananas." Mrs. Bananas and Mr. Peel's faces were filled with shock. The banana cops pushed them into a jail. 20 seconds later, they were free to go out. Be Banana and Go Banana knew that that was an awful punishment, and that they would never commit a crime again. But one thing bothered them. They wanted to know the punishments. They knew that they shouldn't commit another crime to do it, but catch someone committing a crime. One day, they reported someone stealing someone's jewelry. It was Mr. Chop, who was a retired server. Once they got to court, there was another lecture about how it is so easy to turn sides, and another lecture after that about what kind of bananas make videos. Finally, court started, and they found out that Mr. Chop was actually just helping a friend return jewelry. No one was put in jail, but on the way out, while DA Judge was having a conversation with other people, Be Banana and Go Banana stole the sacred rule book. They almost got caught, and they decided to take a drive. They didn't take just any drive. They took the longest drive ever in the banana history. The drive took 12 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. The next day, they went on the second longest drive in the banana history. They drove through mountains and valleys, and finally onto the banana interstate. Citizens, death. She trembled uncontrollably as he pushed the muzzle into her forehead. Nobody moves or makes a sound. Any heroics, bullets will start flying. As you can probably tell, this is a bank heist. Cooperate, and I'll spare you all your lives. Please don't kill me. I'll take you to the vault right now. Shut it. I decide when we go, he replied as he jarred her head back with the barrel. The hostages looked on in slouched postures, with furrowed brows and gaping mouths, wondering if the gun's magazine was loaded or not. For the bank manager's sake, they hoped it wasn't, and that he was pretending to have a loaded gun, because they believed this sort of heist was to scare people into submission with no real intention to harm them. After all, it was only one guy, not a group of robbers. "Hey, mister, my wife's so scared, her water has just broken," exclaimed a hostage. "We need medics, quickly." "I said no heroics," he exclaimed, striking the butt of the gun to the bank manager's temple. She fell in a heap, motionless. Now look at what you've made me do. I mean it, people. Don't try my patience, or one by one, it'll be you lot getting the bullet. Are you crazy? My wife is in pain. She thinks the baby is in the wrong position. We need a doctor now. He sighed and approached the pregnant woman and knelt by her side. She was shaking and sweating uncontrollably. I'm so sorry about this, but I can't have you or your husband messing this up. There's $20 million in the vault, and I want some of it, no matter what the cost. Please, just take the money and go quickly. We'll say nothing to the police, replied the woman. The bank manager opened her eyes. She sat up, propping her back against the wall. All she heard was 2 shots fired, followed by a cacophony of screams and chaos. He fired another shot to the ceiling, and the room fell silent. Order was restored. Right, you lot, clean the blood up, and then drag the pregnant woman and her husband over to the far corner, he demanded. Are you fucking crazy, man? You've killed an unborn baby and the mother and father, exclaimed another hostage. In this game, there's always collateral damage. Now shut it, he said, training the Glock on him. He glanced through a window. The street outside Citizen Bank was as normal as he'd expected. So far, 2 minutes had passed since he'd entered the bank. There was another 5 minutes before the NYPD would have the building surrounded. So far, so good. With the entrance door lock, nobody had approached or tried to enter the bank. Still partially dazed, the bank manager attempted to stand. She stumbled, but he soon skittered back to her and pushed her to the floor. Stay down until I say otherwise, got it? He slid the rucksack from his back and pulled out a large bag of cable ties and tied her hands behind her back. Then he tied her legs, leaving enough movement for her to walk, but not run. With 2 less hostages to not worry about, he made quick time in using more ties to bound the other 8 hostages. Okay, people, if I hear the slightest of sounds or sense the smallest of movements, one of you will be joining those bodies over there. He hauled the bank manager to her feet and pushed her in front to lead the way to the vault. She stumbled and fell to her knees with a hard thud. He grabbed her hair and wrenched her back to her feet. She screamed, and the hostages felt her pain. In retaliation, she spun and spat in his face. She quickly felt the back of his hand make contact with her cheekbone. It sent her tumbling for a second time, but she didn't get up. He didn't let her. Instead, he grabbed her hair and dragged her to the vault. The hostages winced, imagining her discomfort as her legs flailed in a futile attempt to stall him. Now that he's down in the vault, we have to do something, whispered a hostage. He looked mid-30s, with a physique of a guy that worships a gym. Are you out of your fucking mind, sir? You heard what the guy said, right? If you can cut me loose, I can take him. I'm ex-military. Apprehension is my forte. I've got a small knife in my back pocket. Can you reach it? You're gonna get us all killed trying to be the hero. NYPD will be here soon. They'll take him out. Only if someone has activated the alarm. There were moments of silence. He was waiting for a reply that never came. I thought not. But the guy keeps checking his watch, and he thinks they're on their way. I can activate the alarm so the cops know, and then I'll take him out. No, man. You're not hearing me. I can't let you do this. I've got a wife and kids. He'll shoot us all. What do the rest of you think? Are you with me? The rest of the hostages didn't respond. You try anything, man. I'll take you down myself. Just trust me, man. It's worth a try, replied a hostage. He's trained. He knows what he's doing. The locks released. He turned the catch, and the door to the vault swung open. What the fuck? He said, staring into the barrel of a Glock 19. You didn't tell me there was security in the vault, he said to the manager. She connected with his gaze and dropped her shoulders. I ain't security, replied the guy standing at the entrance of the vault. Stop what you're doing, and nobody else has to get hurt. It was a stalemate situation. Both guys had their guns trained at each other, fingers twitching at the triggers, and then, bang, the guy in the entrance to the vault fell. He was soon surrounded by a pool of his own blood. He began to load as much cash as he could into the two large holdalls by his side. He could hardly zip them up, but to his estimation, he had at least $600,000 in each. Way less than what he wanted, but enough to start up somewhere new. With one bag on his back and the other in his left hand, he grabbed her hair with his right and dragged her back to the main foyer, where he noticed one of the hostages was missing. From out of nowhere, the hostage charged toward him, thigh and drived him to the floor, like the New York Giants were playing out in front of them. They tussled about, but the hostage found himself being overpowered and had the barrel of the Glock shoved in his mouth. Bang! All the remaining hostages jump out of their skins as blood and bits of brain matter splattered all over them. The hostage lay there in a bloody, gory mess that was too much for most of them to look. Hey, mister, we tried to tell him it was a stupid idea, but he didn't listen, replied one of the hostages. He's paid with his life for his insubordination. He checked his watch, and 4 minutes had passed. Time to check out. The manager is coming with me. Inform the police I have her as my hostage, and any attempt to intercept me, and she gets the bullet, right? Exiting the Citizen Bank, he threw the holdalls in the trunk of his General Lee, while the bank manager got into the passenger side. He put the pedal to the metal and sped his way along Valley Stream. There were no police in sight. Perhaps the NYPD had other emergencies, he thought. He took a left and followed the sign that was heading for Brooklyn. Okay, Max, you can stop calling me the bank manager now, said Elizabeth. And you didn't have to be so rough on me. It had to look like you were another hostage. I just hope when you shot that guy in the vault, you were obscured from the cameras so it looked like me. But how did we miss that guy? I think I did good shooting him, but too many mistakes were made this time. I should have accounted for the guy in the vault. Yeah, but you dealt with him pretty quick. From how we played it out, the cops will think you were innocent. But what about the hostage that thigh and drived you? If you hadn't have got the better of him, we wouldn't be here now. We've got enough money, and I don't have to work in a shitty bank anymore. He took another left and entered on to Interstate 678. He leant over to the passenger seat. Their lips engage. New life. Here we come, she said. The getaway. The door was waiting for him, already open for a quick entrance into the inconspicuous car. Tony ran as fast as he could, chucking the duffel bags full of money into the back as he more or less dove into the passenger seat. "Drive!" Tony screamed at Jackie. "Drive, goddammit! Drive!" Jackie. Scaletta did not need to be told. Before Tony had even entered the vehicle, he had popped the clutch into drive. Before the passenger door was even closed, he tore down the road like a bat out of hell. Tires screeched like a woman getting murdered as the unnoticeable but powerful car growled down Lexington Street. A traffic light had just turned red as the car ran through it, narrowly avoiding collision with an expensive luxury vehicle. The driver honked loudly, laying on the horn in shock and frustration. But neither Jackie nor Tony D'Amato gave it much notice. They were too fixed on the wailing of police car sirens already going off in the distance, coming after them. "We did it, Jackie!" Tony screamed more than said. "We just robbed Lexington Bank, the cream of the crop. We are gold, my friend." Jackie only nodded in reply. He was too busy focusing on the road, maneuvering cars, hopping onto the sidewalk and the wrong side of the roads to say anything. Tony was shaking and excited as a child who had just scored the game-winning touchdown in a pee-wee football game. But Jackie was calm and collected. A professional getaway driver, if there ever was one. "Just a little bit further, we'll be over state lines. Then after that, on our way to Mexico to live like kings, Jackie." We did. Whoa, look out! A wall of police cruisers was creating a blockade to the entrance of the interstate. Tony grew nervous immediately. Visions of himself and Jackie being torn up by a barrage of Tommy gun fire flashed through his mind. Torn apart by bullets as they did to Bonnie and Clyde. However, Jackie had prepared for this. He knew what to do. "Hold on to something," Jackie said, with the coolness of an ice-cold killer. His face was determined, his eyes focused. "Hold on," Tony shouted. "Hold on to what?" He reacted just in time as Jackie popped the wheels on the shoulder of the entrance, scraping the passenger side of the car against the cement barriers that blocked cars from falling down the steep hill. "Fuck! Fuck! Fuck!" Tony shouted. Sparks flew like crazy fireworks off his side of the vehicle, he noticed with wide eyes. The getaway car had attacked the weak spot of the barricade. Cops dove out of the way in fear as the driver's side of the car clipped a police cruiser in the rear bumper. The collision was hard enough to knock the law enforcement car on its side. Gunshots fired harmlessly as the getaway car merged with the interstate traffic. The road to freedom. We made it! Holy shit, Jackie, you old son of a bitch! We made it! Tony hollered. He was shaking in excitement and fear. A bit of shock had also clouded his mind. He vomited quickly but violently out the window. Calm down, paisan, Jackie said calmly. We aren't free yet. Look behind us. Tony swore when he turned his head to see black and white cop cars following behind. Traffic had pulled over to the sides of the road to allow a path for the police to drive through. Tony had visions of Moses parting the Red Sea upon seeing this. What do we do? Tony asked, horrified again. You let me do my job, Jackie told his childhood friend calmly. You did your part. Now it's my time to shine. He gunned the accelerator once again. The engine of the car growled like a lion on the attack. Except they were the antelope, and the police, the lions. The rear windshield imploded with a sharp snap as glass fell to the floor of the car. They're shooting at us, Tony yelped. Another bullet hit the metal of the car's exterior with a loud knocking sound. Well, Jackie told Tony, like a father teaching his son a lesson. Fire back. Tony reached between his legs for the weapon. A Thompson machine gun with a 50-round drum loaded. He racked the first shot into the chamber, aimed intently at the leading cop car, and squeezed the trigger. The gun went off, sounding like a barrage of drums, vibrating off the walls. The car Tony had been aiming at lost control and collided with a semi-truck that was pulled over. One down. How many more to go? Tony asked himself in his mind. Good job, Jackie said calmly, still focusing on winding through the traffic on the highway. Most drivers had gotten the message and pulled off where they could. But a few stubborn ones kept on going, like nothing was happening. Great. Now we have a cop murder to add to our list, Jackie's mind told him. He shook his head to clear the thought away. The car stank of burnt gunpowder, and a ringing accompanied the ears of both men as Tony loaded another drum into the rifle. Don't shoot unless they shoot first, Jackie spoke, or if they get too close. Even still, try aiming for the tires. Don't worry, I don't intend on killing anybody unless I have to, Tony replied. Jackie was thankful for this sentence from his friend. They weren't murderers. There was no one else Jackie would aid robbing a bank with. A bullet shattered a small hole in the windshield. It narrowly missed Jackie's throat. His blood went cold as he felt the ripple of air pass by his skin. A second one ripped another spot through the windshield. This one hitting its mark. Fuck, Tony yelped, throwing his right hand onto his left arm. Blood stained his fingers. Another barricade stood ahead. This 1-3 rows deep, with paddy wagons and cruisers blocking the interstate. "Tony!" Jackie shouted, momentarily taking his eyes off the path to look at his friend. "Are you okay?" "Yeah," Tony spoke through gritted teeth. "Just took some muscle and skin. Missed the bone. I need you to lay some covering fire when I say," Jackie told him. "What are we gonna do, buddy?" Tony asked. His pain was, at the moment, dulled by the fear that their escape had come to an end. No Mexico. The bullet would have to be extracted from his arm. "Just wait," Jackie replied, his voice getting lower and lower as he repeated, "Wait, wait, wait. Okay, now. Fire!" Jackie screamed. Tony leaned out the window and sprayed a barrage of bullets out of the end of the machine gun, aiming over the cops' heads. It was enough to scare the uniformed men to duck behind their vehicles as Jackie screamed the car over the grassy area between the lanes of the interstate, straightening on the wrong side as family cruisers and semi-trucks came dangerously close to head-on collisions with them. He rolled back onto the right side of the road once they had cleared the barricade, passing a sign that happily welcomed the two into the next state. "We made it!" Tony shouted. "Holy Christ, Jackie. You did it. We are clear. Bravo, paisano." They had made it into the next state. Tomorrow morning, they would ditch the vehicle and get into another one to make the drive into Mexico. They were not safe yet. There was still the worry of a nationwide manhunt or getting stopped at the border. But for now, Jackie Scaletta and Tony D'Amato were safe. They continued down the interstate, just another nameless victim. I just spent the entire evening in the library reading romance books with him, wanting nothing more but to feel his lips against mine. In shock, I quickly turned my head to face her. Her black hair was flowing with the wind as she leaned against the bridge, staring out at the ocean. It was beyond beautiful. What? I managed to get out. "Yep. It was you the entire time." She turned her head slightly, meeting her alluring hazel eyes with mine. "We've been best friends for over 3 years now. We've gone from rivals to classmates to friends to best friends. And that's where it was supposed to stop. Nothing more, nothing less. But the more I got to know her, and the more I got to spend time with her, the faster my heart went. Every single time. And it was only until this very moment I figured out that I wasn't the only one who felt this way. A few minutes before, OMG, they found each other in the end. Now they'll get married and be together forever, she fantasized. It was adorable how oblivious she acted, as if the world was nothing but sunshine and rainbows. You realize they probably won't get together again, right? Stop being such a pessimist, Dill. They will figure out, and when they do, they'll be together again, and bam, true love at its best. I laughed. Together, we just spent 4 hours in the library, reading nothing but romance novels. It was supposed to be enjoyable, but when you have feelings for the girl that you're reading them with, it's hard not to feel a smidge of jealousy whenever the main characters do anything romantic. Ugh, I wish I could have the perfect love story. There it was. The wish that made my heart blast into smithereens. She had a crush, one that was obviously not me. She always ranted on and on about him, how she liked him, but he didn't like her. I felt the exact same way. Well, maybe if you would just tell me who he is, I could help you, I say, trying not to sound anything but teasing. Even though she's everything I wanted, I still want her to be happy, even if it meant that it wasn't with me. Do you really want to know? She reeled, leaning towards me, trying to get me to back down. I played along. I really do, I teased, leaning closer. I could feel the butterflies forming in my stomach. Okay, how about this? I give you a bunch of hints, and with them, you try to eliminate and figure out who it is. Easy enough. She leaned even closer, waiting for me to accept the challenge. I'm about to have my heart broken. I know it, but I still end up learning closer to the point where our faces are only a few inches apart as I whisper, "Game on." He has brown, messy hair, and his name starts with the letter D. 10 minutes passed. We decided to walk home while playing our game. Over 50 possibilities eliminated. Only 3 left. That leaves Darren, Dwayne, and Dawson, I observe. So close. All right. Here are your final 3 hints. He's a bookworm with amazing grades. He's one of my friends. And he has an interesting past. I process the pieces of information, making 3 crosses, each through someone's name. Wait, everyone's eliminated then. There's no one left. Confusion rises as I go through the hints and the names, seeing if I made a mistake. Nope, there should be one, she softly says. At this point in time, we were already halfway home, stopping right in the middle of a bridge, surrounded by cherry blossom trees. I stop to think as she leans across the railing, facing the ocean. That's impossible, I comment, going through the names for the second time, still lost. Want another hint? Present, I thought. It was me? I'm in utter shock. Has it really been me the entire time? Yeah, She pauses. Suddenly, she spins around, facing me, eyes glassy. It takes a minute to realize she's crying. Hey, what's with the tears? I carefully ask as I slowly reach my hand to touch her soft, warm cheeks. I caress her face, stroking my thumb across her cheek, wiping away her tears. She doesn't respond. She just dips her head so I don't see. I carefully pull her head back up, trying to word what I want to say carefully. Hey, look at me. Slowly, her eyelids open, and her eyes, once again, find mine. I smile, knowing exactly what I want to say. You know, I've liked you since the moment I saw you. I just was too scared to admit it. Scared that you would reject me. Scared that you wouldn't want to be friends anymore. Scared for our relationship. Yet you still pulled up the courage to tell me, even if it might have brought upon rejection or humiliation. You always were the brave one. That got her smiling. Really? She asks, her smile getting bigger and bigger as I nod. Really? Our faces are only 3 inches apart. I look at her once more. She nods. I have the go. Slowly, I close the gap. Time seemed to stop. The only hint that it didn't was the wind blowing cherry blossoms all around us. My heart pounded louder and louder, feeling as if it was going to burst out of my chest. Every time she leaned in, I pressed harder, not wanting to let go. Her lips felt warm and soft, the only sensation I was able to process. The only hint that this was all real was the emptiness felt when she would slowly lean back for air. But once she came back, it felt like a dream once again. Slowly, I brought my hand to her hair and the other to her face as she rested her hands against my chest. Her hair was soft and smelled like coconuts. Slowly, I brought the hand on her face back to my side and to her chest. Softly, I pushed, applying a small bit of pressure. She leaned back and gasped. I'd finally done it. What? She uttered in confusion. She looked down, and the realization downed her. Why? Tears started spilling as she slowly started falling back. I caught her delicate body in one hand, smirking. I'd give it another minute before you're gone. Any last words? My parents are serial killers. Together, they've had over 100 victims. Once they lay their eyes on someone, it's impossible to escape. I was no different. Forced to kill as a child, tortured till I obeyed, became a force of habit as a teenager. I thought you cared. Why? She gasped. You thought you were something special, didn't you? Well, let's make sure we get this right this time. I leaned in closer, enjoying the moment. You are just like the rest of them. I spent 3 years grooming this very moment. 3 years trying to get you to develop feelings for me, only so I could kill you in the most enjoyable way possible. I take a slow, deep breath in, a sense of happiness and satisfaction taking over me. This girl has been the hardest target so far, but I've done it. I drove the knife into her. She gasped, trying her best to stay alive, but it was of no use. The knife was deep enough into her heart to only last her a minute, tops. I gently lay her down and pull the knife out. She softly screams in pain. I get up, take one last look at my best work, smile, and walk away, spinning the knife, covered with blood in my hand. Did you ever love me, Dill? I stop. I only was able to get a few steps away from her before she screams those 6 words. I refuse to turn back, but I can't help but answer. No, you're just another nameless victim.